All right, here we are. This is Ask a Wrestler. Last time we did Ask a Lawyer. This time, Ask a Wrestler. So I'm going to be answering whatever questions you come up with. So we'll give some time. Oh, here we are. David Benoit said on CVV back in 2020, he has worked through it and forgiven his father and would like to see him in the Hall of Fame. It's horrible what Chris did, but if his own son can separate the wrestler from the dad, do you think that any company that does wrestling, Hall of Fame, or awards would be able to separate the two? That's really tough. Maybe over time, but I mean, you have to look at it from a business standpoint. Like the company would, in a way, you're going to have people that say they're celebrating somebody who is viewed as a monster for what was done, and they wouldn't want the negative press. So they're going to have to weigh the risk versus the reward. Yeah, I mean, but then again, is OJ Simpson in the Hall of Fame? Because the other argument is, does somebody's body of work warrant them to be in the Hall of Fame? And if it does, by a lot of people's standards, then they deserve to be in there. So you can make the argument both ways. But ultimately, WWE is a private company, and the optics are very important for them. And I just don't see them, being comfortable associating with his name. And because that was such a tragic story and so widespread and just looked really, really bad for professional wrestling. So I see themselves, they did a lot to distance themselves from that. And I think they're, likely going to remain that way. Yeah. It was definitely CTE. And see, that's the other thing, is you have to look at it like that kind of casts a bad light on wrestling, in that so many, wrestlers potentially have CTE and have had CTE, because it is such a dangerous profession, and it just keeps bringing that back up. Like that's part of the dark side of professional wrestling, that I want you to just see the good, just see the story and the show, but don't worry about what goes on behind the curtain. Don't worry about what goes on with the talent. Am I bringing Tarver out of retirement? Hey, I would absolutely bring Tarver out of retirement. Shout out to Tarver. We had him on the channel not too long ago. We did a watch along for NXT. Hey, like I said, Tarver was one of my best friends in FCW, and I think he was super talented, on the mic, promo wise. He's a Christian rapper now, and he's extremely talented at that as well, and a power lifter. Like this guy, he can still go. Yeah, if he wants to come out of retirement, that would be dope. That would be dope. I'd definitely be down for it. That would be cool. All right, what else we got? Do creative tell wrestlers of a certain size, height to not do certain moves because it doesn't fit them? Yes, this is a great question. Absolutely. And it's more the producers will tell guys this all the time. Like Drew McIntyre, I remember, like he's legit 6'5", 6'6", but is extremely agile. I always bring this up when I talk about him. I've seen him nip up with his hands in his pockets like it was nothing. To me, that was like one of the most impressive things, like, at his size. I was like, yo, but he can throw perfect drop kicks. He can do all kind of stuff. And like, at first, like I remember they didn't necessarily want him doing all that because he was kind of a bigger guy. And then Ryback too. Like there was things they didn't want him bumping. I remember that's how Ryback broke his ankle. We were in a tag match in Hawaii, and he was taking the comeback from the Hart Dynasty, and I feel like he told me like he was, whatever they hit him with, he was gonna bump, but he remembers they told him they've been on him about not bumping for certain moves or whatever. So he tried to change, and that's what he shifted on his ankle. or something of that variety. But yeah, that's definitely things that happen. And then, you know, if it's a smaller guy, like they shouldn't really be able to pick up, a much larger guy, even though they probably physically can do the move because you're working together. And so the person you pick up, the person who's being picked up is supporting. So just things like that. But yeah, and then also, well, it used to be that they didn't want bigger guys, coming off the top rope. It used to be like that, but then now it's kind of impressive, if it's put in the right spot. But yeah, that's a great question. That absolutely happens. Did I ever hate an opponent for real? No need to mention any names. Um, to be honest, I no, I never hated anybody there because I mean we were all working together. There's people I liked more than others, but no, I never hated anybody, and we are always super professional in the ring. There were some people who didn't like each other, but while I was there, everybody remained pretty professional. Like that's the thing. It was, you want that respect. You want to be known as being professional, regardless of, how you may or may not feel about the person you're working with. But you have to remember you're working together, and so. But sometimes, I mean, that can make for great chemistry, and sometimes it can make for not so great chemistry. But yeah, but that's a great question too. All right. Hello, how are you? Hey, I'm great. I'm great. How are you doing? Thank you for being here. Yeah, happy to have you. How was Wade Barrett as a colleague? Wade was great. Stu, yeah, he's a great guy. He's really cool, fun. He's funny too. But we would ride together during NXT, and then early days on the Nexus. A lot of times, he and I would be the only two booked for whatever was going on because we were the last two. But no, he's a great guy. Like I still consider him a friend to this day. But yeah, he was super talented, and we all kind of knew like he was going to be at the end of NXT. I knew he was my biggest competition, and yeah, but like he was great. He was great. Very cool to work with. Very, very talented. He's doing commentating now, and he's killing it. He's doing fantastic. So yeah, the last time I spoke with him, probably the last time I saw him, and I don't know when that was. But that would have been like in 2020. But we've interacted, through text or social media, though. But I mean, that's as much as with anybody, how you keep up with anybody in this. Yeah. Do they blame wrestlers for missing flights to shows? Yeah. Like you could be in major trouble for that. Cause I mean, well, if you miss a flight, hopefully you can get on another one or something. But if it causes you to miss a show, that's a real problem. Like if you don't show up to work, like you're not going to get paid and you were advertised for the show. Like you do that more than once, you're probably going to be fired. Yeah. So they do not like that.
Producer Steve with a follow-up. Did anyone, when you joined the main roster, smarten you up to some of the things that all the wrestlers do, including not checking a bag for this reason?
Yes. Yes. When I got to the main roster, some veteran wrestlers, they definitely smartened me up. Like you don't want to check a bag because you never know. And so you have to keep your gear in your carry-on no matter what, because if your luggage were to be lost, at least if you have your carry-on, you can still work. Like you have to have your boots, whatever your ring attire is. But yeah, they definitely smartened me up to that. Hey, Mr. Otunga. All right, first I just want to say you were my favorite Nexus member when I was a teenager, but my question is, do you plan on returning to the WWE or anywhere? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And that means that you have great taste. Glad I was your favorite. I was my favorite too. Do I plan on returning? Ah, it depends. Like it would depend on what the role was. I wouldn't rule it out, and I would listen to any offer that came in, be it WWE, AEW, any company. Um, yeah, if it were something cool, like I think it would be cool to come back in like a manager capacity where I could represent talent, kind of like a Paul Heyman, but as a lawyer, a legal advocate, and maybe pair me with a talent who isn't so great on the mic, and then I can do a lot of the promo work for him and whatever, and then kind of help, that help just put over that talent, help shine them up or heal them out, whatever it could be. I think that would be really fun, and nobody's really done that. Yeah, like in that way, and then still, I could be physical in the ring, given the if the storyline calls for it or whatnot. But I think that would be really fun. Yeah, let me know if you guys would like to see that or what ideas you have. You have anything else to add to that?
Producer Steve again. Do you see the vertical feed on the left?
I do, but it's really small. It's hard to
Uh,
make
just click. Can you just reframe your camera so you're more centered on the vertical feed? There you go.
out. Okay,
Just
that's
that
it.
was a quick one. And then while I'm here, would you be interested in being the new general manager of NXT now that Ava's gone?
Oh, great question. I would absolutely be interested in that, in being the general manager of NXT. I mean, I kind of started NXT. Think about it. It was there for the inaugural season that launched NXT, that is now what you see. I was runner up in the first season, and I should have been the winner, but Wade was a good choice. But yeah, I would absolutely take that role. I think that would be fun. Yeah, kind of cool, a little full circle moment. Yeah, great question. Hello, Mr. O. Great channel. What would be a dream guest you would like to invite for an interview? Wow. Um, there'd be a few. Um, Vince McMahon definitely be one. Um, John Cena. I think John Cena would be great. It would be cool just to sit down with him and talk, given our past, and and talk about things that we went through and hear his side of things and where we are now. And I think that would be really cool. Obviously, The Rock. It would be cool to sit down with Dwayne, talk to him and talk about his career and everything. Like that would be really cool. And times that he and I talked about when he gave me advice, that would be cool. Um, Batista, Dave Batista, that would be dope. Sit and talk about him. Catch up with Dave. That would be really cool. Shout out Dave. Um, Stone Cold. It'd be cool to sit down with Austin. Uh, yeah, he'd be another one. Yeah, those are my dream guests. Who do you guys want to see?
You brought up Dave Batista. No one else will be able to ask this, but you sent me a TikTok recently where he said he hasn't had pizza in 20 years, and I
I
believe you can refute that statement.
I did. I did. Um, I know for a fact Dave Batista had pizza 10 years ago. And I know this because I had pizza with him. I ate it with him, and it was at his house that he was staying at while filming for Marvel. And Sean Perrine, the late Sean Perrine, rest in peace, editor in chief of Muscle and Fitness, who was my good friend. He and I were in town. I was in town filming something for Tyler Perry, actually. And so he and I met Dave and on the set, and I have pictures from that day. And we got to see Dave we took a picture with him in the Drax makeup. It was awesome. And it was cool because that was my first time going to where they filmed Marvel in Atlanta. And I remember when I walked in there, I said to myself, like I made a mental memory, and I was like, I'm gonna be back here one day, but filming myself. and which was cool. When I went back to the same place for She-Hulk. But anyway, afterwards, Dave invited us back to his house. So we were like, all right, cool. And then he ordered pizza for us from the Mellow Mushroom. I remember it was. And we ate pizza. So I know for a fact Dave had pizza. And this was I'm pretty sure it was like 2016. Yeah. It was between 2014 and 2017 for sure. But I feel like it was 2016.
If he was filming the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, this would have been 16. But the second Guardians came out pretty soon thereafter, so it could have been 17.
Yeah, it was right around there though, for sure.
I don't know what to make of this question, but it is ask a wrestler. Did Michael Hayes really watch Brian Kendrick and Paul London shower?
I don't know. I have no knowledge of that. I'm not even familiar with this this rumor or question. I'm sorry.
Me too. I figured I'd throw it up there. That might be something you knew, might be something you didn't know.
Yeah. Can I bounce my pecs? You know, a little bit. There you go. This is more of a wrestler question. Can using your legal name as a wrestler be a legal loophole around WWE wanting to own your name? Yes. Well, it yes and no. Because technically within wrestling, WWE does own David Otunga. And I remember thinking about that, okay, so on the one hand, you become a big star at WWE and it enhances your name, my legal name, David Otunga. Okay, great. And so that is my real name. So like me as a person as well, me as a lawyer as well. But technically they own David Otunga, the character in WWE, like professional wrestling. So I remember thinking, well, if I'm doing professional wrestling, it probably, is going to be with WWE and they're the biggest, and especially at the time. So this is okay. And so that's what I do. So technically like John Cena, WWE owns his name in regards to wrestling. So he couldn't go to AEW and be John Cena. There would be a claim against that unless he were to get his name back. Like The Rock now got his name back. The Rock could go anywhere he wants now that he got his name back, but otherwise he couldn't because the WWE owned that before. But great question.
It's also worth noting The Rock got his name back because he joined the board of TKO. Like part true. Of him buying into, so the idea that he would ever go anywhere else is counterintuitive because he's speaking of AEW. Vampire Kirill wants to see you there.
You hope I make a guest appearance at AEW. Oh, that would be pretty cool. Yeah. That's a great promotion. I would love to check it out. Yeah, it'd be cool. What kind of a role would you like to see me in at AEW if I did make a guest appearance? What would you guys want to see me do? You should have gotten a world heavyweight title opportunity. I appreciate that. And I agree with you. Man, that's something I always wanted to do. Well, wait a minute. I got opportunities, but I don't really feel like they were legitimate. Like they would throw me in random heavyweight title matches with Sheamus on Raw in the main event, and we would have fun, but like no story. I knew that they weren't going to let me win, so yeah. I wish that they had put me in a legitimate storyline and let me win one, have a title reign, and you name it. So, but thank you for that. What is your opinion of The Miz? He was always my favorite WWE superstar growing up, and I wanted to know how he was backstage, unlike John Cena. And this is, you guys paid $10, so thank you very much. The Miz was cool. He and I always got along, and maybe it's because we had similar backgrounds. Like we came from somewhere else, came from reality TV, and just it was different. We were treated as like outsiders a little bit, but he was always super cool and like humble, like different from his character that he portrayed. Well, he got to be a little bit arrogant, but like he was always really cool with me. Got along, and he was giving. I remember like one of the first matches, like he called a cool spot. Like it was in NXT. Um, he wanted to come off the top rope, and I could catch him into a power slam. And so I was like, "Yo, okay, let's do it." And it came off amazing. So yeah, I Miz was always really really cool backstage. Excuse me. Toronto memories. I'm sorry. I don't have any specific ones. Um, other than the time in NXT. It was like our first time at wherever the stadium is where the Raptors play. And Heath Slater and I, we snuck up into the Raptors practice court, and we started playing basketball. Started shooting around and playing one on one, and that was really fun to me. Yeah, excuse me. And so I just remember thinking, oh, Vince Carter probably played in here. T Mac probably practiced in here. Yeah, that was. Sorry, that's my favorite one. All right. Did you ever have to correct WWE writers because your legal consultant promos were too legally inaccurate, or did you just lean into the kayfabe? Um, it depended. Like sometimes I would correct them, and then sometimes it just didn't matter, and so I'd say whatever because like the whole story would be might be nonsense or not legally accurate to begin with, and so yeah, I would more so lean into the kayfabe and do it, but try to make it not sound like nonsensical. But yeah, I think it's always more fun when you lean into the kayfabe. I think it's more fun for me, and it's more fun for the audience. But you have to make it believable. That's the trick. Oh, another one, $10. Thank you very much. Do you think WWE should be more open to allowing AEW jumpers to keep their more recognizable names? Like Powerhouse Hobbs, Mariah May. If those wrestlers have the rights to the name and AEW doesn't. Um, yes, if they have the rights to their names and they're known, I think WWE should be open to that. Like, for example, yeah, if Powerhouse Hobbs owns the rights to his names and or his name and AEW doesn't, I think that would behoove WWE to bring him in as that name. You know, why start over? Why try to recreate the wheel? You've got him already moving. Just add to it. So yeah, I think they should be more open to that. Great question. Thank you very much.
Producer Steve here. I also think there's another angle to that, which is from the wrestler side, which is to say, if you're Powerhouse Hobbs, if you were Powerhouse Hobbs in the independents and then you took that name to AEW, and now you're going to the WWE and the WWE is going to be in control of your character, it's possible that you'd want to be known as something different while you're there to protect the name Powerhouse Hobbs in case they screw it up.
That's true.
Very similar to Hideo Itami.
Yeah, that's true. Because the other thing is if you've built up your name, outside and you own it, when you go to WWE, they're going to want to own that name. So you would basically be giving up that IP to them and everything that you owned. Or if you wanted to maintain that, you might want to be known by something else for exactly that reason. Like if they don't do you any favors and they besmirch your good name there, at least you still have Powerhouse Hobbs that you owned and that you built up outside of it, or whatever the hypothetical name is. So yeah, I could see it for the performer. It might, if they really want to keep their name and they've put a lot of work into it, they might want to try a different name at WWE. I just saw a page on Instagram. Make a Black History Month post on you. Pretty sick. Oh, really? That's cool. Pretty sick. Thank you. Thank you for, and you donated $5. Thank you very much. So a page, an Instagram Black History Month page made a post on me. That's flattering. I'm gonna have to look that up. That is really flattering. That's really cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
In my effort to find it, I misread that as Paige the wrestler made a Black History Month post about you, which is why I'm a little slow to actually find the post, because she's not yet. It's early. It's the 12th.
Okay, yeah. So she still may. That would be funny. Yes, I did. We answered this one. Yeah, I did have to correct the writer sometimes on my legal promos, legal consultant ones, but I, more often than not, just leaned into the kayfabe, especially if it helped the story. So yeah, I did.
But you can't think of any examples where creative or Vince himself got something so blatantly wrong that you had to be like, I'm sorry, I'm still David Otunga, the lawyer. I can't be on air talking complete nonsense.
No, they were generally pretty on point. To be honest with you, Vince, kind of really knew what he wanted in there. Vince, had a lot of experience, with the courtroom, and so he was pretty good with that, like with what he wanted. So there was nothing wildly inaccurate. There really wasn't. Yeah. How was it like guest hosting Monday Night Raw and left John Cena hanging in a tag team match? That was awesome. That was one of my favorite moments in my career, if not my favorite. Especially because at that time, like getting to host Raw was a really, really big deal. Only really, really big, like names got to do that are outside like mainstream celebrities. And so the fact that I got to do that was huge. I vividly remember this because I was really green still, and I get there that day and I don't know what to expect. But like when I walk in, I can't remember who I saw first. And you know what? I feel like it was Stu, the cameraman, and he was like, "Oh, big day for you." And I was like, "Whoa!" Everybody knows what's going on, and they were all really happy for me and stuff. And then, I'm looking for my agent, and I go out to the ring, and I believe it is Arn Anderson is out there, and I I go to find him, and I'm sitting there by him, and he's like, "All right, well, we got a bunch of things, and you open the show, you get your ton of segments, whatever, and Big Show's part of it or something." And Big Show comes out, and he sits down on the other side of Arn, and he's asking him something about the show and what's going on. Now, I've only met Big Show a handful of times. Like I said hello to him and whatever, and I had to show respect, or whatever. And I remember Arn saying, "Yeah, well, or Big no, he hands Big Show what the sheet, but then he's telling them, yeah, so Otunga's hosting, and he opens the show, and Big Show's like, wait, what? Rotunda is hosting? He thought he was talking about IRS, Mike Rotunda, but he's talking about me. Like he didn't even know who I was. And then Arn's telling him, he's like, no, I said Otunga. And he's like, Rotunda? He said, no, I said Otunga right here. And I'm like, hey, me. And he's like, the green kid? You're hosting? And then I was so hurt. Yeah. Okay. And he's like, you just got here. That was it. Yeah, I was hosting. So Big Show did not expect big things from me on my debut, but luckily it got rave reviews. From Vince, everybody, including John Cena himself, because then I put myself in the main event in the tag team match and turned on John Cena. But that in and of itself was awesome because that was my welcome to WWE moment, like legit. So before it, like I'm so nervous but excited, and I'm talking to John, and he's asking me what I can do in the ring, and there's limited. Like I told him, I can grab a headlock takeover. I can body slam. You know, I get a suplex. Like he's like, all right, this is what's gonna happen. He tells me through it, and then we're in the middle of the match, and uh, right before he tags me in the first time, like he comes over and he's like, who is it? Who's he working? It was a Miz, I think. He's got him in a headlock or whatever. But he comes over and he's like, "You ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he holds out his hand. I tag it, and he's like, "Welcome to WWE." And then I get in, and and start going to take the headlock. But like, it was awesome. But like, it was just cool that like he said that. Like he's so dramatic, but like it was awesome. It was awesome in that moment. And then at the end, like where I double crossed him and I dropped down on him. That was awesome. That pop was amazing because we worked the crowd so well. Because again, this is in Illinois. This was Moline, Illinois. So this is almost like a home game for me because I'm from Elgin, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. And so everybody knew me there from Illinois also because not only was I David Otunga, but I was Punk from I Love New York too, who was from that area. But anyway, I turned on the biggest baby face and healed out on him. That was awesome. Like that pop was amazing. And yeah, and I remember going back to the curtain and Vince was so excited. He was super happy. And John was himself. And John came back. This is the time. And he told me, he's like, "Man, that was amazing." And he's like, you're the next one. You're going to be it. And he's like, "Hey, I want us to ride together sometimes. Like, I want you to ride with me sometimes. Like when we get going." He's like, "Yeah, but this is, it's gonna be great." So yeah, that was one of the best memories. Yeah. When's the last time hearing from Vinnie Mac? Not too long ago, actually. Well, yeah. Not too long ago. Like I heard from him. I heard from him on my birthday, and then like I hear from him through people too, and send messages like through people. But then every now and then like I text him like, yeah, like I said, like on my birthday. But so last time, like I think we officially like text exchange was my birthday, and then through people, uh it was just recently actually, uh within the last month, about my YouTube videos, one in particular, believe it or not. But yeah, good question.
I can't wait to find out which one.
I gotta remember which one it was too. Yeah. Do you know Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express? Do I know them? I don't. Um, I can't say. I can't say I ever met. Yeah, I can't say I ever met them either. Anybody from possibly, but I don't think so. Sorry.
When's your next convention? You'll probably see.
Oh yeah.
Rock and roll are usually around.
I think it's a big event.
Big event, and then possibly something in Las Vegas. Who knows?
Yeah. Thanks for reading my message, Big Dave. Hate WWE didn't use you after your last stint as the lawyer consultant. Thank you, Cedric. I appreciate that. Well, yeah. Hey, but you know what? After the lawyer consultants, like, I took time off TV and then came back and was doing the announcer thing. But I feel you. I would like to do something else there. Like, what would you have liked to see me do? What's something else? Good afternoon. Do wrestlers literally pay for certain moves? And how long is it until a move is up for grabs after a wrestler retires? example would be KO using the Stone Cold Stunner. Um, I've never heard of a wrestler paying for a move. That's news to me. I mean, maybe there's stories where that's happened, but I've never heard of that. And how long is it until a move is up for grabs? I don't think there's a set time or anything, and there's different ways to go about it. Like generally, especially if it's a really established and it's an over move, you would ask permission from the wrestler or the person who is known for it or whatnot. And then they grant or they don't, or you ask the office or the agents. I'm not really sure. Yeah, or somebody can give it to you, can give you a move, or you just do it. Um, like I started doing the Farouk Slam, but I changed it a little bit and did and made it my own version of the Verdict. But it was kind of based off that. And so I didn't necessarily have to ask for permission, but like the first time I met Ron Simmons, like, I told him, actually, I didn't even have to tell him. Because it was obvious that's where it came from. And he was watching me. And I remember he just commented, he's like, hey, really hook that leg and you know, put some real malice and some force behind it. So that was cool. Yeah, but great question.
I believe the standard is you have to ask in general. Like I know Randy Orton had to ask DDP or felt like he had to ask DDP.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
RKO is similar enough to the Diamond Cutter.
yes, yeah, and I do think that's true, and like that's standard wrestling practice and cultures. Yeah, you need to get permission. Yeah, so you should definitely ask for it. Yeah. What do you dislike about modern wrestling? For me, it's things like a group of wrestlers obviously standing around waiting for a suicide dive. Um, yeah, I agree. And I think making things too obvious sometimes, or too obvious that the guys and the moves are working together, right? Or that the guys are working and or ladies are working together to pull the move off. So seeing through the kayfabe. Yeah, I do kind of like certain parts of older wrestling where they did a little bit less, but it seemed more realistic. So yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Yeah, yeah, and I feel like storylines they're not they don't have the same build up that they used to. They don't seem to mean as much now. It's kind of just recycling stories and interchanging characters. So that's part of it.
Are you of the mindset at all that people don't sell long enough in modern wrestling?
Yes, I feel people don't sell enough. They don't. They because they'll be hit with something major and then be right back up not too long after that. Throwing like a little mini comeback or something, and or going into the next move set to be cut off by something even bigger. But like it just doesn't add up. Like things need to breathe more and slow down, which I always try to do. And people always told me. And then it was interesting. Like once I became like an announcer and I really had to watch it and study it, I feel like I learned so much more in wrestling and my in advance just in my knowledge and in ring psychology and seeing like mistakes I had been making and like how to do it in the proper timing and rhythm and the flow and slowing down. Um, yeah, storytelling too within the matches. Like not, I mean, there is still good storytelling. Some guys do put on good, great matches with storytelling, but like um, it used to be more important. I feel like back in the day, where like you could turn the volume off, and you could just watch two guys work, and you could know exactly what's going on, and who's the babyface, who's the heel, what part of the body they're working, and really staying focused on that, and telling a physical story. So yeah, Hey, pleasure to meet you. I'm currently going to law school to be an intellectual property attorney, and I was wondering if you had any advice on how to network and offer my services to WWE. Um, well, hey, nice to meet you too, and good luck in law school. That sounds awesome. Any advice to network with WWE? Uh, yeah, I would say reach out to people in their legal department, or check on LinkedIn. Believe it or not, I would do that. See if they have any events near you. I don't know if they do. Well, I don't think they obviously don't do job fairs or something, but like you never know, because like they probably post listings and things that they're hiring for, I would imagine. Um, yeah, so I would say, just if be intentional about trying to find an in there or a contact, and go from there.
Also, a more roundabout way, I'd say, is a lot of independent wrestlers and just athletes who try out to the WWE in some way, shape, or form. Those people usually need legal advice that they aren't seeking. The roundabout way could be to find somebody who you think is about to have a tryout at the WWE and befriend them and start doing legal stuff for them. And then if they get signed by the WWE, then you're a part of their package. And then that's how you wind up working with the WWE and get on their radar that way. Just another method that could work.
Yeah, that could absolutely work. Yep.
Hopefully this is going to be a future video, but can a superstars patent their signature finishing move?
That's a great question. That is a great question, because, and the answer is I don't know. Like, how do you patent physical IP? How do you patent a punch? Big Show throws the punch. Tarver wanted to throw a punch. I think they were different, and they were, but WWE didn't see it that way, or Big Show didn't see it that way. He said they were too similar, so you can't. So like, how would you distinguish that? Because like, say Big Show patented his punch, and then Tarver came in and did his, and Big Show said, "Oh no, I'm taking you to court. I'm suing you. You did my punch." And then what would you do? Compare them, and like, what would you rule? That Tarver's punch was Big Show's? So clearly, it was different. It was almost kind of like a Superman punch, to be honest. Um, but then maybe Roman Reigns has a claim, or does Tarver have a claim against Roman Reigns for the suicide punch? So I think that you really can't, but it would be cool. Maybe within wrestling, they could set up like a kayfabe patent system where you can do that. Where, let's say your move is the knockout punch, then across professional wrestling promotions who subscribe to this, that's the only person who can do it. If yours is the spear, you're the only person allowed to do the spear across whatever promotion subscribe to this. I think that'd be a cool idea.
We may know a lawyer who's tried or is trying to like legally trademark.
Do you train in what you will do in the ring before going on air? Train on it? Not necessarily. You might rehearse it. You might rehearse part of it. If it's something complicated or intricate, or new. Yeah, but yeah, and you might walk through it. But I wouldn't say you go hard. You don't have like a full rehearsal generally, so you wouldn't really train on it. But yeah, not really. Can you describe the high you feel when walking out in front of a packed arena? What's the closest thing to that feeling outside of wrestling? Thanks. Um, wow. I don't know, because like for me, when I walk out there, it's like I'm in like what you call flow state, where I'm I'm just experiencing everything in the moment. I'm trying to anyway. Um, and it feels amazing. Like time kind of either stands still or goes really fast. And like you just have no concept of time in it. Um the closest thing to that. Uh I mean, being in front of any audience is the closest thing to it. Like I do speaking engagements, and I'm in fact I'm doing two next month in Pennsylvania. I know one of them is at Gettysburg College. Um, giving motivational speeches, and I'm speaking for Black History Month as well. But going out in front of a live audience and getting that feedback, that immediate feedback, is the closest thing. I mean, obviously with wrestling, it's a much larger scale, much larger audience, more of a spectacle, but I mean, nothing quite is going to compare to that. But the closest thing would be to be in front of another live audience. Um, Something else that feels good is like if it, I do, if I'm on a TV show or people really enjoy my performance. I was on She-Hulk. Seeing the positive reviews is really cool too. Like when, because you don't get the instant feedback, but then when you do eventually get the feedback or the feedback on social media, like that is rewarding, and I feel that feels good too. Yeah, but great question. Super sticker. Thanks. Oh, you bought a super sticker. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. That's really cool. Thanks, Cedric. Shout out to you. Thank you. Hello, David. Do you have experience going to Germany? Um, hi, Roman. Uh, we did. I did wrestle in Germany um, a few times, I believe. I, you know what? It's been so long. I can't say anything in particular stands out though. I'd have to go back and see like what the matches were, who I was working. Um, but I know I enjoyed it because like I thought it was cool just being over there and being in I believe we are in Berlin. But yeah, it was really cool though. So shout out to you, shout out to Germany.
Sorry, I'm pulling up your matches. We'll
Okay.
come back. We'll circle back to your matches in Germany. See if we can jog your memory.
Okay. While serving as John Laurinaitis legal counsel, did you ever have to vet actual WWE HR policies to ensure that people power storylines didn't create real world labor law issues? That's funny. No, I did not. I did not. But I'll tell you something that was funny is in one of those storylines, WWE wanted me to tweet something about an unsafe work environment, and I think this is when we did the walkout and vote against Triple H. But like they told me like hey, we need you, WWE socials, like we need you to post this on your Twitter account. I said, all right, so I did, and then it said something like this, like we're not going to take it anymore, and we're out of here or something. I'm not going to be treated like this at work, and it's workplace harassment, whatever. And I had people who know me from outside of wrestling and from being a lawyer messaging me, reaching out to me, like, David, are you okay? Like, I'm so sorry to hear about what's happening. Like, oh my goodness, are you all right? Like, do you need help? And it was funny to me because I was like, oh my gosh, they don't know that this is storyline. And because it's my real life Twitter, it goes to my real life Facebook. Like they, yeah, they, they believed it. But no, I didn't. And then the other thing that is funny too is people tend to think that even though I was Johnny's kayfabe legal advisor, people tend to think like I was really working for WWE legal, like in a legal capacity, like as an in-house counsel. I was not. They never hired me for that. Like I did talk to excuse me, Jerry McDivitt though on the phone a couple times. He was nice. Yeah, but no, I never worked for them in that. Excuse me, in that capacity.
Quick update on the Germany part. In April 14th, 2012. It was you, Santina Marella, and The Miz at a house show at the O2 World in Berlin. One of your many U.S. title shots.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure I probably lost to the Cobra there. I do remember they were a pretty hot crowd though. Um, I remember that, and it was cool working with like the Miz. Somebody asked about him earlier. He's always really humble and easy to work with, and giving, and would would do whatever like do whatever I wanted to do, but like he would give me stuff because again, like that is what I'll say about him. I like that he made sure I got stuff in because I didn't always know what to ask for. I was too humble, like with the vet sometimes, and Miz would do that. I feel like if I remember like those times, I feel like he gave me a little bit in those matches, especially because then I was the one who was going to take the Cobra, not the Miz. Yeah, but yeah, fun times, fun times.
So it looks like you did 2 tours, and I finally figured out it's listed as Deutschland on here, which is why I had trouble finding the matches. You did November of 2010. It was you, Husky Harris, Justin Gabriel versus Bret Hart, David Hart Smith, and Tyson Kidd.
Oh, that was here.
That was November of 2010.
I remember this very well. Um, this was awesome because we got to work with Brett, and this was when I actually got to know Brett. Okay. Now, this is, I'm glad you pulled this up. Now, see, I didn't know this was in Germany. This is a great memory. I got to sit with him backstage and talk to him. And I remember him telling me about his daughter who was trying to get started in music at the time. And, he knew I was aligned with or adjacent to the industry. Anyway, and so we were, talking about it. And yeah, he was really nice and so humble. And like we talked every time like we'd see each other after that. But anyway, what I do remember about this is we got to work together, but the only one of us who was allowed to work with Brett in the ring was Heath Slater. I don't know if anybody's ever told this story, but Heath was the Brett Whisperer. I mean, not really. Like anybody could have worked with him, but like the reason they chose Heath, they felt like he was the smoothest and could sell whatever, but also the lightest because Brett was he had some health issues, and so there was some kind of all they explained to us was that there's some kind of issue with insurance and that he couldn't I don't know. He couldn't take shots to the head. He couldn't. There's a whole list of things like he couldn't do. And so they trusted Heath to work with him specifically. And so it was cool to be in there, but like at the same time, like we were careful to stay away from Brett and not injure him, not hurt him or whatever. But yeah, that was like the only time like we really, really got to work with him and work in the ring. Like I didn't know that was in Germany. I'm so glad you brought this up. Thank you for the question, and Steve, thank you for looking this up. Like this has been amazing. Yeah.
That's good to hear as well. So yeah, Otunga, Slater, Harris. That's not a very common pairing of the Nexus, I don't think.
No.
And it explains
No.
because they needed Slater. Although I'm looking, let me pull it up again. There was a house show on the 13th in Mannheim, and it was Otunga, Harris, Gabriel, and then Hart and the Hart Dynasty, Bret Hart and the Hart Dynasty, and then it was the Heath Slater was one night, and then Justin Gabriel was a different night. So the very first night was was Heath Slater.
They might have let Gabriel do it then.
Yeah, I think they did one night and then they got comfortable because it's Coin is how I'm going to pronounce that. I'm sure there's more syllables. And then Mannheim are the two cities. And then you came back, obviously, in April to Stuttgart and Berlin.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one from '06 Big O. Is
Out of
there anyone?
everyone
Yeah.
in WWE NXT right now, who would you want to work with the most? Hmm. Hmm. Um. There's a lot of talent. I'm gonna say I still would like to work with Randy Orton like one more time, like before he retires. So I'm gonna go with like the top guys and stuff like that. I said it before, like CM Punk. Like it'd be cool to work with them again. Um, let's see, maybe uh, Braun Breaker. That would be cool. Because I'm a big fan of his. Um, that could be a good match. Yeah. Uh, what's my guy's name? Javon Evans. Uh, Javon, Javon the High Flyer. That guy is phenomenal. I think we could have a lot of fun. Yeah, but I'd be open to it. Joe Hendry. Yeah, that'd be a good one too. That could be fun. That could be really fun. Yeah, there's a lot of talented people right now. How hard is it to keep a straight face going in the ring and hearing the audience cheering? Um, it depends.
So I lost him. It depends. I feel like we all may have. We made it quite a bit of time this one before we lost him. He's still completely frozen, so I can keep cutting back to him frozen. But we're gonna work all this out. Producer Steve here. Let me see if there are any questions I can kind of handle just from my time working with him while we figure out. His computer crashed again, which for the members who joined us last week, this is a bit worrying. This is a bit worrying because the computer crashed last week and then locked him out completely. That he had to like format his hard drive and it was a whole mess. I do agree we should have Otunga and Wade on commentary. You'd still need a third person. You'd still need like a Morrow or a Michael Cole, like somebody to actually, because effectively what you would have is two analysts and then one play-by-play, like somebody to tell you what's happening and then somebody to tell you what it's like to be there. It did crash. The WTF. Christopher Cal, you have a YouTube channel where you review toys. And how do I ask permission to get copies? And how do I interview superstars? You actually ran into the right person for all this. I've been in the YouTube space for probably since been running YouTube channels since 2017, and I was on AfterBuzz TV, a pretty big YouTube channel before that, for like 5 years before that. The big thing is lead with value. So if you're asking for someone to, hey, send me your merchandise so that I can review it, you need to lead with value. So tell them what you're going to do for them and make it seem as close as possible to, you're going to give me a $10 thing or an hour of your time, and you're going to receive triple, if not quadruple that in value to your business or your livelihood. And that all depends on not just the channel, because sometimes people don't actually care that, oh, it's 1,000 views, 10,000 views. Like if you're selling merchandise, what people actually want is to be seen by 1,000 people who might buy their merchandise versus 1,000,000 people who won't. So my general advice to you here is to lead when asking for something from someone, to lead with your value to that person as soon as possible. But like the question is, how do you ask permission to get copies? The key is to ask. Most YouTube channels have an email address listed in the description. Start with that email address and then work your way from there. What you don't want to do is get real spammy in like comments or mentions. But there's a fine line between spammy and persistent. And I've walked that line before. I'm gonna ask him, but I don't believe he knows Mid-South Wrestling. Neither David or myself speak Spanish. Hola.
I'm back.
Hola, David.
Hola. I'm back. Apologies.
No worries. You got to log back in, which was a big problem last week.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Steven Bergeron wants to know if you know Mid-South Wrestling under Bill Watts. If you've seen any of it in your travels.
You know what? Honestly, I don't. I've heard about it. I know the name Bill Watts. You know, he had territory, was very, very well respected. But fortunately, I'm not too familiar with much of it. I mostly, I grew up with WWE and WCW, and even still, I was more loyal to WWE for the most part. But yeah.
And also, I was answering a question from Christopher Collin. I think I misunderstood the question. He said to not get copies right and how I can interview superstars. I took that to mean how do I ask people to come onto my channel? And I'm realizing now that he wants to know how do I avoid copyright strikes. And the short answer to that is upload it private and see what gets claimed. And from there, decide what you absolutely want to keep. And one of our members says you should send them feet pics first. That might help. If you've never tried, you'll never know. Can't go wrong with feet pics.
You know what? All right. This is gonna take a turn.
I'll bring us back.
At some point, somebody mentioned to me, "Hey, they got your feet or something on online or whatever." Or they sent me some account, and there was some like Instagram account called Wrestlers Feet Pics, and it was look. I'm not into that. I'm not king shaming. I don't know what anybody's into, but I'm just saying this was news to me. And they sure enough had me tagged in a post, and they had like zoomed in pictures, like they had scrubbed the internet to find like videos of me, and zoomed in on my feet. Like they had somebody. I was at a trampoline park with my son. Here's his feet in socks, and then look at those soles, and then like. I think we were doing the ice bucket challenge. I was barefoot or something. They had my son and I swimming. They had my feet in it. And I was like,
I've found your wiki feet, but it's your channel. Do you want me to pull it up or are you good?
Hold on. I was going to get to that.
Okay.
So then like, I thought it was crazy, but then, like somebody else sent me hold on. I was reading the comments, like what people say. And they were really talking quite favorably about my feet. No, but like they were like, oh my gosh, I think his are the best I've ever seen. And then like whoever owns the account, they would post random like appreciation ones, like more than once, like his are top tier or something. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this, but at least it's positive. Then this lady sent me sent me this thing, Wiki Feet, and said, "Hey, look who I found on this." And it's me. And I'm like, what is this? You could put it up, Steve. You can put it up. But I did not know this was a thing. And boy.
So right now there are 66 votes. Most of them are very positive. Has your birth date, your birthplace, a height that's not set, and then it says your shoe size is 13.
Oh, well, I don't know if it was this or.
And then there's a series of photos of your feet.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Or photos
But
that
it was
feature your
there's
feet.
some there. See, that's what I bet. That's what Ice Bucket Challenge. There was some where it ranked or like had like a rating, like legit. And I can't remember what it was, but mine was like almost 5 star 5.0. It was like
Yeah, 48
four.
484.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry, yeah.
There we go. So I mean, I feel like that's nearly a perfect
Let's
score. I
do I
mean,
have
you
to
know,
log
I
in? Can I
I
just
don't I don't
no.
necessarily agree with what they got going on here, but at least they're rating me highly. So
484 out of 5.
yeah,
It's a good rating.
yeah.
Um so we have a super chat from same Rasif05. Honestly, to me, and I believe to others, it's going to be shocking how all along The Miz was the face in real life and John Cena was the heel in real life all along.
Ooh, that is a great one. Thank you for this and for a $20 comment. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong about that. The Miz was a great guy, well liked backstage by everyone, and John Cena was not necessarily liked by everyone backstage. In fact, um, it's more so I think John Cena he leaned into being feared more than being loved. He wanted to be feared and respected, more than being loved. So, if I don't know. I think John felt more like a colleague to most people, and you understand his good side and stuff, for a large part. But I mean, like, I feel like he's talked about that as much too, in being that he was so driven on success, and it's kind of a solitary thing in a way to be at the top. So yeah, great comment though. I think yeah, you're not wrong.
So before your computer was super rude, we were talking to Joe R860 about keeping a straight face. Do you recall that
Yes,
question? Okay.
yes. That is tough sometimes. Excuse me. Working with Santino would get me all the time. How he would say my name or pronounce things like that would be tough because Santino is funny, and a lot of his stuff would just be improv and just off the cuff because he knows his character so well. But yeah, that would crack me up. But otherwise, like, I would be so committed to my character that, like, I could hide it in my reactions sometimes, like if I was gonna laugh. But yeah, it was definitely tough, especially when you're having a good time. Yeah, David, did you say you had a pet rabbit or another animal? Nope, I've got a rabbit. I've got a rabbit named Rocket. All right, I'll tell this story. How did I get a rabbit? It's funny because I never asked for this rabbit. I did not wake up one day and say, "Hey, you know what? I want to go buy a pet rabbit," and go out of my way to do that. That is not what happened. That is not at all. It was foisted upon me. Foisted. Refer to Curb Your Enthusiasm for what that means. I was buying a house, and my son and I went to look at the house. We went to look at the house. The people who occupied the house previously, they had a menagerie of animals in there. And in the master, or sorry, in the primary suite, they had a rabbit that was penned up in there, and it was a nice rabbit. And my son, he's young, he played with the rabbit at the time, 5-10 minutes, whatever it was. And we end up going back. We really liked the house. We end up buying it. Um, we're there, and the people, they're moving their stuff out, or whatever. They've moved it nearly out, whatever. It's getting time for the closing and all this, and we're there, and the lady just right in front of my son, is just like, hey, how would you like to have this rabbit? Because you've really made a nice connection with him, and I see how he's so connected to you. It could be really nice for you, you moving into a new house or whatever. And my son is so nice, and he loves animals. Oh yeah, that would be great. Sure, thank you. And but he's surprised a little bit that she's given, like, this is your pet. You're just giving him up. And she's like, yeah, I think it would be better with you or something. And then I'm not crazy about this idea. And I'm not happy that she just offered this to my son right right in front of me. She watches this channel too, so she's probably gonna see this. But hey, I'm not very happy about this. And I know what you did to me. I know what you did to me. You know who you are. Because I end up we getting stuck with this rabbit. And I'm not happy about it, but I'm like, all right, well, how much trouble can a rabbit be? Don't they mostly stay in a cage or whatever? No, no. Um, if you don't know, I quickly found out. If you don't know, rabbits are poop machines. Like, the amount of little pellets, like they look like little Cocoa Puffs, the amount that they poop out daily needs to be studied. You would not believe it. However much you think it is, multiply it by 10. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. It's so much work. And then this rabbit used to have accidents and stuff. So there's little Cocoa Puffs like everywhere around the house, like in the carpets and stuff. Like, oh my gosh. And then I realized, and it eats hay. I gotta have hay. I now have like a little barn in my house. Now I realize, when I finally moved in, there was all kind of weird stuff in the primary suite, because I told you they had like a little farm in there for this rabbit. Like, what are they doing? Anyway, it quickly becomes a lot of work. And obviously, what happens, parents? When your kid gets a pet, you get it because you're the one stuck cleaning up after it, which I am. Anyway, this was in Chicago, so as I said, my son and I we moved to Los Angeles a few years back, and we had to take the rabbit with us because nobody would take the rabbit from us. And oh, by the way, I realized this is what I mean by foisted. That lady played me because she wasn't giving the rabbit because she was being nice and thought that my son would really like it. It's because she couldn't take care of the thing. And she knew it was a poop machine, and she wanted to get it off her hands. So she gave that problem up to us. So anyway, we were flying back to Los Angeles, and we took the rabbit with us. Paid for, we have first class seats. I paid for the rabbit to have a seat with us, first class seat with us. Paid for the rabbit's passage, and this was American Airlines. We get on. It's David and I, the rabbit. Yeah, I don't know if you know, rabbits don't make any sound. They don't talk, they don't bark, they don't do anything, right? Rabbits, they don't make a sound. It's a little carrier. They're quieter than a cat. Under the seat, nobody even knows what we have, except for them when we put them under there. People are like, oh, it's so cute, whatever. We sit down, ready to take off, and the flight attendant comes and says, sir, I'm sorry, but we cannot let you fly with that rabbit. It's against FAA regulations. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, no, you can't fly with that rabbit. I'm like, wait a minute. I can fly with this rabbit because I've signed your document about the pet request and paid you money already. I have my receipts. We're in first class. Like, you guys did that. And she's like, yes. And that was a mistake on the part of our person at the front. And, they're going to be reprimanded for it. I'm like, well, still, like, you can't do this. And she's like, no, the rabbit can't fly. And I'm like, well, what do you, like, where the plane's about to take off? What do you mean? That means we can't fly, or I leave this rabbit here. In that moment, I wanted, here, take the rabbit. Then fine, keep the rabbit. No, I can't do that. So then I'm like, all right, Dave, we got making us get off this plane. So we're upset. And other people, these people, like, in first class, you see what's going on. Like, wait, what's going on? They won't let him fly because of the rabbit. Somebody back was like, please, it's a father and his son. The pilot comes out and says, what's going on? And the flight attendant, she's angry. He can't fly. He's got a rabbit. And he says, a what? It's like a rabbit. Like a bunny? Yes. He's like, I don't care. And so she's like, what? So she comes to me and she says, well, you can't fly with this. It's against regulations, but the only way is if the pilot approves. I'm like, okay. So she's like, so you have to ask for his approval. Okay. So I go to, excuse me, sir. May I fly with my rabbit? It's my son and I already paid for this. And he's like, sure, it's fine. It's fine. So we're allowed to fly. We get to Los Angeles and I look over at my son and I'm like, this dang rabbit, it foisted upon us. But we went through so much trouble. I told Rocket, I was like, all right, you're a Californian for life now because you can't leave the state. You can't fly out of here. I'm not driving you anywhere. This is where you're gonna live. You are now a Californian rabbit. But we went through so much with him that he became part of the family. So it's one of those things where like he was a pet that I begrudgingly had, and that's funny because like I take so much care of him and stuff. Now, like I worry about him almost like he's another child. I have to feed him every day, keep him alive, and clean up his millions of cocoa puffs everywhere. Choose my cords up. That's the worst part. Like I'm struggling to see what the good parts are about having a rabbit. He's cuddly and he's cute, but mischievous is an understatement. I don't know why I'm still putting up with this, to be honest, but that's our Rocket. Any good Edge stories? Yeah, I got to win against Edge. I got to go over in a lumberjack match on SmackDown. I feel like it was a main event. Anyway, it was the biggest promoted match, and if I lost, I was out of Nexus. And I was nervous when they announced that because I was like, wait, if I lose, I'm out of Nexus. I thought they'd get rid of me because I was like, there's no way they're gonna let me beat Edge. Like, there's no way. But they did. And so then I was like, oh, whew. I was grateful to Edge for putting me over, for letting me, beat him, especially because I was so green in the business. And this is the match where I remember like we happened to be putting it together and he was just going over it with me because I was green and Michael Hayes was right there. And Edge said, he's going to give me a back body drop. And I said, oh, Adam, excuse me. I just want to let you know. I've never taken one of those before. I wasn't taught that in FCW. And I said, but I will take it. I'll take it for you if you want. I said, but I can't promise you how it will look. And he looked at me, looked at Michael Hayes, they looked at each other. He's like, Michael Hayes like, kid, you never taken a back body drop? No. Ed said, all right, well, we'll take it out. We'll put something else in. So yeah, no, he was awesome though. And he was so good to work with, easy, light in the ring, like super professional. Really cool guy, really, really nice guy, like very complimentary, helpful. I remember I was crushed when he had to retire because like I really only got to work with him like that one time like really well, and I was hoping that we would get to work together more because like that's kind of like the feeling I was getting. And yeah, then it wasn't too long after that though he had to retire, and that was sad. That was really sad. But he was always around like after that, so it was really good to see him. I was really happy when he was cleared to come back and just to see everything he's done since then. So yeah, shout out to Edge, shout out to Adam, yep, and his wife Beth, yep. Why did you choose to stay with New Nexus instead of joining the core? Or did they just tell you that was part of the script and you just went with it? To be honest with you, they just told me that was part of the script and I went with it, but I was happy to. I didn't want anything to do with the core. I still wanted to be the leader of the Nexus. And the core just it seemed bootleg to me. It seemed like a bootleg version of the Nexus. It really did. And it was spelled funny. I'm sorry. It just didn't seem that creative. It looked thrown together. And that's what it was. And I wanted to do my own thing. So I kind of felt like most of the Nexus, because Wade was going, Gabriel and Slater, like they were core members of it. So I think that's kind of what the core was supposed to mean, that they were trying to say they were the core of the Nexus, if fine, whatever, beat it. That's like a inadvertent shot against me because I'm taking the Nexus and I am starting my own thing, have my own people. So yeah, why I would have chosen anyway. So it worked out perfect for me.
I have an interesting video idea. Just came up with it now. You and I watch an episode of Evolve, which is on Tubi. It's the rung below NXT. And then we book a new Nexus of Evolve people.
Okay.
Let me know in the chat if that sounds fun. I think that would be a lot of fun.
That could be cool.
Obviously, we'd have to watch Evolve. Crisscross Adventures, YouTuber. My mom and I have an adventure show that covers everything, even pro wrestling. 321,000 subscribers. Says, I will help you with your YouTube channel. I believe the email you can email is in the description. Let us know.
Yeah, thank you for that. That would be awesome. Yeah, Crisscross Adventures. Thank you. I appreciate that. Looking forward to this. David, I have a question. If Nexus defeated John Cena, would you have been a high tier card winning the WWE Championship or World Heavyweight Champion, considering this was 2011? I don't know. It's hard to say because the Nexus has defeated John Cena. I'm assuming that we would have stayed strong, stable for a while, which would have, in theory, hopefully, helped to elevate, all of us, creatively. But there's no guarantees, to be honest. Like just beating John Cena at SummerSlam, that wasn't enough to say that would have, like solidified or guaranteed that I would have, gotten top tier or, top high tier card winning, or championships. Yeah, that it wouldn't be that because even the way Nexus went, like I still was on my way to that. I think that I would have gotten championship opportunities. I think I would have been world champion. I believe that. If I would have stayed, I do believe that. But it was taking much longer than expected, and it was coming at a time in my life where it was having a negative impact on my family where I had to make a choice. But I feel like if I had stayed, that eventually I would have been world champion. I believe so. When are you going to get your own show on VH1? Great question. Does VH1, do they still do shows? But believe it or
not really.
Believe it or not, they offered me my own show. And so after, okay, let's see here. After I Love New York 2 was done, I get signed to FCW in 2008. So I Love New York 2, 2007. In October 2008, I'm signed to FCW. I moved down to FCW and I'm there for, before that, I'm sorry. Before I signed to FCW, VH1 called me in to do I Love Money, the original one. And I went there. I went to Mexico. They were filming it in Mexico. And right before, like the night before we were supposed to start filming, they came and told me, hey, Punk, I'm sorry to tell you, but we're not going to use you this season. They're like, yeah, we decided we're going to hold you off for another season because we have a plan for you. So I flew home and ended up getting FCW. Fast forward, I'm in FCW and I get a call. They now want to book me for I Love Money 2. But I'm like, sorry, guys. I'm in FCW. I was like, the only way I would do it is for my own show. And then they were like, well, you'll get your own show, but you got to come do this first. And I'm like, sorry, I'm in FCW. I'd rather focus on this for now. So I turned it down. I did tell him, hey, you guys should go look up Frank the Entertainer, though. And so he eventually got a show. lasted a little bit, but yeah, that was it. Ah, let's see here. Sorry. Um, the next evolutionary step, I would say for them main eventing more and just being treated with the same respect as the men. I think it's getting closer to that.
So let's do. We've got quite a bit, and we're going to screenshot these for next time. Let's do 5 more.
Okay.
Let's go with this first one, Mr. Wallace 93.
Oh, hold on one second.
Go for it.
That sneeze. Whew. Okay. Okay.
Was the original NXT season supposed to be similar to the current LFG show, or was it always supposed to lead into the Nexus storyline?
I don't think it was supposed to lead into the Nexus storyline. I think that just happened, was a byproduct, to be honest. They didn't know what to do with us, and Vince just came up with that.
Besides your YouTube channel, what are some other projects that are coming up that you're looking forward to?
Definitely motivational speaking. Got 2 coming up next month in Gettysburg, and the other one's in Pennsylvania as well.
This one is very interesting from John Clement. You criticized the new ads on the ring in WWE. As a lawyer, do you think Vince kept the ring clean for aesthetic reasons or to protect the IP of his film library?
Could be both. Could honestly be both. Definitely the aesthetics, I believe that, but that's interesting. That very well could be too. I never thought about that, but to protect the IP of his film library, yeah, I could see Vince looking out for that.
Mark my words, in our lifetime, probably in the next 5 years, portions of the WWE's library are going to be licensed to free things like YouTube, and then they're going to sell the ad space on the apron, which is now blank. Like, that's not that much work digitally to change. Schlid GN90, do you think WWE was intimidated by both your intelligence and your race?
Yes. And if I'm being honest, I don't think it's just WWE. So I think that's something that I deal with a lot. But within WWE, I did feel that, especially because a lot of the people I worked with, no disrespect, but they're, didn't go to college. So probably the highest level of education was high school. And, they would be in superior positions to me. And I could tell sometimes by things they said, oh, they feel a way about something, or they, feel a way about this. And I'm talking about the intelligence part first, but, you combine the race. Yeah, definitely. Nothing like, certainly nothing overt, but, I'm perceptive enough to be able to read what somebody's saying, and then in a way it's kind of obvious. So yeah, great question.
This is one I haven't actually asked you. Do you have a suffix at the end of your name like Esquire?
I don't yet. Like, I could get it. I've considered it because I think it would be cool. I might do that. Because, well, here's the other thing. Like, technically I could get doctor. I could get a prefix because I am a doctor. I have a Juris Doctorate degree, but it's just not common practice to call lawyers doctors here, but we are doctors of law. And in other places, I always bring this up. They always say it's like in Australia, lawyers are called doctors, allegedly. I've heard this, but I need to talk to somebody from Australia to verify that. But that over there, that they call them doctors too. That being said, I've considered that. I might do it. Do you guys think I should do it? Should I add it? What do you think? David Otunga Esquire. Do you like the sound of that?
I think you should do both. And when you're a babyface, you're David Otunga Esquire, and when you're a heel, you're Dr. David Otunga. Because that's a very heel thing to do. Call yourself a doctor because technically you're a doctor, but you're like,
okay.
But it's like, but like also if you're having a health problem, don't call David Otunga.
Right. I like that.
Fun comment. Edu GZC. I don't speak English, but I'm practicing while listening to you speak. I hope we're helping.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Don't go on WikiFeet.
That's a good time.
And I think this is going to be okay. I have two more.
Okay.
This one. How busy does Gorilla get during the Royal Rumble? I am curious. Is it organized chaos or is it very organized?
Well, actually, no. You know what? It was organized because you're lined up, like, and so it actually was organized very well. You're lined up, and you just have to be in line. And there's people monitoring to make sure you're ready to go out, and so it was pretty streamlined. Actually, it was actually surprisingly more chill. Actually, yeah, and because you knew what was going to happen, it was probably more chill than even like a regular Monday Night Raw or something, just because it was the actual Royal Rumble match itself and how streamlined the entries were. And you knew what, you go out for your entrance and whatever happens then.
That's good to hear, especially because you were in a 40-man Royal Rumble as well.
Yeah.
But it seems like that has to be really on it.
Yep.
So John Clement and the commenter have a question that are in the same vein, which is, was there any legal or contractual leverage you guys had as a group to protest the last-minute John Cena decision at SummerSlam? And what they're describing is collective action, which Captain Commenter has one. I'm not going to be able to find it, but they're asking, will pro wrestlers ever form a union?
No, we did not have any contractual leverage at all. We could just protest, but nothing in our contracts. In fact, John Cena, I wonder if he may have had something in his contract that allowed him or gave him some kind of authority to do so, to determine match outcomes, because I'm starting to realize that was more frequent than I thought. I didn't know that it was as prevalent. So that would make a lot of sense, and looking back at John Cena's career, I could see that as being something that he would want in there. I can't blame him. If I get it, shoot, I could book myself. There was Super Cena, you're gonna have Super Otunga. Yeah. The question: will wrestlers ever form a union? I don't know, but you know what? Lately, it's starting to look like it's more of a possibility now than it ever has been before. I feel like, and we've been talking about it. I've had a number of people reach out to me, talking about that, encouraging, and seeing where we're going to go with that. I'm not saying that, I'm actively starting one or whatever, but I'm open to hearing what people are talking about if I can help in any way.
So wrestlers are forming a union tomorrow, and you're going to be the president. That's what I heard. Is that not what you said?
I guess that's the soundbite.
Because that's what Dave Meltzer's going to say tomorrow. So we just need to be ready.
All right.
And Samuel Pagan wants to know if that's a green screen behind you. Absolutely not. That's his office.
You heard it here first. And a rabbit running around.
The rabbit lives in the office.
Yeah, but the rabbit sheds and makes me sneeze like crazy, like really bad. Almost got me earlier. I've been trying to hold it in the whole time. I think I'm allergic to this rabbit too, by the way. Whew. Why he has access to the office? I mean, hey,
Well, it's Otunga and Partners. The Partners is the rabbit.
That's true.
Otunga and Rocket, attorneys at law. That's where we can end it.
All right.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, guys.